Hi, this is Tamara at mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to work cross-stitch on crochet. For this tutorial I will be using Lion Brand's 24/7 cotton, and no crochet hook today. We'll be using a yarn or tapestry needle. This particular one is made by Clover, and you get two in this fun little package. So the reason I'm showing you this is because of a recent pattern that I did on mooglyblog.com. This is the Cross My Heart Treat Bag. Again, a free pattern on mooglyblog.com. Check the links in the description. And you can see I made the heart on here with cross stitch after I finished crocheting. So I just want to demonstrate how you work cross stitching on crochet. So let me set these aside and pick up our little swatch here. Okay, now here I have a swatch of crochet fabric. These are half double crochet stitches, and cross stitching onto crocheted fabric is going to work best if you're working over a field of either half double crochet or single crochet, because that's going to give you the closest thing to an X, or excuse me, the closest thing to a square shaped stitch. Because if you've cross stitched before, you know how it's basically a series of holes in the cross stitching fabric. We're going to treat these holes as the holes in cross stitching fabric. So let's say, for example, you wanted to put a stitch over this stitch right here, a cross stitch over it. What we're going to do is go from here to here in our sewing. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed with cross stitching, you want to go left to right. Whether or not you go top to bottom is up to you. So let's go ahead and make our first stitch. Now I might weave in the cut end here before I begin, but for the sake of time here, I'll just go ahead and get started and pull my yarn through. I'll just leave a little end there and hold on to it with these fingers so it stays put. So from here, assuming this is our first stitch we want to cross over, I'm going to come diagonally to the right, like so. And this gives us our first cross there. To continue down this row, I would go down one right here. And yes, there's a little bit of angle, as you know, in crochet. The stitches are going to angle a little bit. Getting caught up in my end there. There we are. And we just keep going across to the right. Now, I used to cross stitch before I crocheted, but I never really looked into the theories or whys or wherefores of how things were done. It was something I did as a teenager, actually. But as far as I know, the reason you do it left to right, going all the left to right stitches that you need to make, and then come back the other way, is to actually save yarn and to keep the back as flat as possible. As you can see, this creates just a little bit of yarn there on the back, so we don't get a really thick fabric. Now, once you've made all the stitches from left to right that you want to make, it's time to go back and finish them. Some patterns, for instance, let me pull this one up right here. You can see here, I just used the one going this way, and then I used one going the other way. Whereas on the ends here, we've got ones that aren't crossed. That's done to create different lines going in different directions. So if I wanted to cross this one, I would come straight down right here, just like I did before. But instead of going across to the right, I would just come back the other direction and go right back in that hole there. Oops. There we go. You can see I've made my first X. To continue going right to left on the return pass, so to speak, we'd be going there. And let's say I wanted to go ahead and turn this one to an X, like so, but I wanted an angled stitch on the other end here. I might come on down here again. Oops, getting caught up in that end again. And come across one more. Oops, there we go. And that gives us our angled stitch, like so. And that's really all there is to it. You go up to the next row, and let's say I wanted to make my next X here. Now I can't come out of this stitch because I just went into it. If I came back through here, it would just undo my stitch. So for this one, I'll go ahead and jump up here to the next row and come back, like so. And then I would continue, go down, and then across, and then down, and then across. And that is really all there is to it. When you head one direction, you do all the stitches going to the right, then you come back in the other direction and do all the stitches going to the left. You don't have to cross them. If you don't, that's how you can create the angles like you see here. And if you would like to cross stitch this heart on this project or on another project, you can see the chart for this cross stitch heart again on mooglyblog.com. Check the link, the description for the link. So that is the basics of cross-stitching on crochet. It's really just a matter of looking at the fabric and really visualizing where you want those holes to be. I find the ones at the top on either side of the stitch are the best place to go with your cross-stitching. And this can be worked in rows, as shown here, or in the round, as shown here. Of course, you're just cross-stitching just right inside the bag. Let's see if I can get this open enough to flip it inside out, so you can see what it looks like from the inside. Not too bad. I had a little bit of stitches that were unfinished on this side, and you can see here across is where I wove in my ends. Pretty simple. I wasn't too worried about weaving the ends super well on this because it's not going to get a whole lot of rubbing in and out. It's just a little treat bag. But that's really it. And you could do hearts, you could do anything that you can cross stitch. You can cross stitch it onto crochet. So don't be afraid to go out there and look for some free cross stitch patterns and apply it to your crochet and see how it works out. It's a great way to add letters if you don't want to make an applique or little pictures like this, and it's just a lot of fun. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you so much for subscribing to our channel.